Hello, everybody. I'm Shelly Harris, and we have several timers joining us now. Before I begin, I did want to launch a poll with everybody. Are you experiencing a weather situation in your area today? So if everybody could answer that. I myself am, and I share that only if something happens and I go offline, it's because of that. So yeah, thank you guys. So majority of you, about 70% are definitely experiencing a weather situation, and 30% are not. So bear with me. I think we'll be fine. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Great. Okay, so what we're doing here today is to give you a debrief of the recent timer survey. And this was completed at the end of last year. This was actually the 5th time that we've done the survey. And each year we kind of change it up in some ways, but we pretty much use the same questions each time just so that we can have a benchmark and see how things are changing. So let me go through these, if it'll let me. Okay, so we've grouped these into 4 different categories. The first one is kind of general timer business insights. The second is timer technology. And then the third is RunSignup technology and your feedback on RunSignup technology. And then the fourth is miscellaneous. Okay, I wanted to make sure that my screen is showing up because I know I just saw that the poll was still there. So, but it should be showing now. Let me see. Okay, yeah, we should be good. Okay, so we had 161 responses. It was actually less than we have had in the past, but we had it, we didn't have it open as long. And we had 126 completed responses and 35 partial responses. That means that maybe they, skipped a question or two. But overall, we have pretty good, participation and good responses. Okay, so the general timer business questions. One of the questions we asked is, how many races does your company time or provide other related race day services? And this really shows you that the respondents really kind of ran the gamut. There was across the board, we had, small types of businesses to large. We had actually 19% had more than 150 races. So that was pretty surprising. And 31% had more than 100 and 7% had 10 or less. So predominantly most had, are good established businesses. So what types of events do you currently provide services for? So we would expect to predominantly be running and walking events, and that's what occurred here was 93%, 65% cross country, 57% trail events, 48 triathlon, and then 42% is lap races, 33% cycling, then track and field, swimming, paddleboard, and then other. There was mentions of stair climbing events, dog sled, skiing, and golf. So, do you own or partially own your timing business? So this shows that the majority of the respondents have a stake in the company. So they either had a partial ownership or they themselves owned the company themselves. So 56 or 57% own, they're the head honcho, they own the business themselves, where 17% work for someone else. So what this shows is the majority of the people that responded to this survey have a stake in their business, and they're the decision maker. So do you have another real job? So this actually changed from last year. So yes, I have another full-time job, 41, 42%. And we've always seen that the majority have, kind of, it's like 50, what is it? 52% have either a part-time job or a full-time job. However, this, those that have timing services or timing related as their full-time job, it's actually increased from last year by 12%. And so what I surmise is that because of the pandemic previously and from the past surveys, people in their comments were saying I had to get a part-time job because my timing business was affected by the pandemic. I think there's this resurgence here of people getting the races back, and it actually came through in the comments that there's definitely a growth in the industry. So people are able to go back to having timing or timing related services as their full-time job, which is great to see. So how many full-time employees work at your timing business? And so this was a new question this year because we wanted to kind of, dive into this a bit. And this does not include part-time or contractors. So primarily, there's 59% have one person, and that could be themselves, right? And then 83% have 3 or less full-time employees. So from a full-time employment approach in the timing world, and I'm sure most of you are already aware of that, and this confirms it, they rely more on contract employees, which the next question really supports, that it's really about part-time and contractors are the main staffing method for timing. So again, this really shows that the people that answered the question had a variety of different levels of business and size of businesses and approach. So we had, from having just a few contractors to more than 26 contract employees for 8% of the respondents. So it really is a wide variety of people that responded to the survey. So do you provide race services outside of timing? And 82% said yes. So this is actually a little bit of an increase from last year. So you continue to see this evolution of timing, of the timing business, where the timers are offering more and more types of products and services to their events as the demand from events grow, and competition that's actually come up quite a bit. So what services do you offer outside of timing? We ask this every year, and this continues to be pretty consistent. Registration management and race directing and event management are the top two. Registration management is the number one, with 89% of timers offering this as an add-on service or a type of complementary service. And then the third runner-up is course certification and setup, all of these things you would expect. But then custom shirts or bibs is number 4, and then event marketing. And then after that is item rentals like barricades and so forth, and then participant tracking, virtual results management, and we continue to see kind of virtual is decreasing. Races still offer it, but it's not as the prominent service that's being provided like it was during the pandemic. And then race staff or volunteer management. So, okay, so did you start offering new services or use new technology this year? And this has changed over the years of how people have responded, because during the pandemic, it was more about virtual races and virtual results and participant tracking and so forth. And this year we had actually predominantly most people said no, that they didn't use a new technology or service, 64%, but 36% said yes. So I dove into the comments, and there was a lot of comments about using new scoring, and in particular race day scoring. But some of the new technology that people commented about is this LED video boards, and that actually came up quite a bit, and using it in different ways. So that might be something you want to look at doing this coming year, and adding, this different approach of doing, results and so forth at the race site. And then another technology was using the check-in app and actually using QR codes to really help with that dynamic bib assignment and helping the processing during the check-in moment or process at the expo and so forth. And then the other most common new technology was using ticketing. And we'll get into that in a little bit. So how many events has your timing business added this year? So this actually was kind of a consistent theme in the comments that we'll get to in a moment, but was this growth. So you'll see that most, had only 6% said that they had no growth. So 54% actually had significant growth. And there was definitely a lot of comments about this. So I think there's this resurgence of new races coming in and then races coming back. What registration companies do your events primarily use? So this will always be predominantly RunSignup because we're sending it out to our database of timers that most of them use RunSignup, not all. But we try to get it out to other timers. And so we put it on Timers Talk, we send it to registration companies to send to their timers. We did get 23% of respondents don't use RunSignup. So we did get at least that population. But on the other side, RunSignup is the leading registration provider in the United States. So you would expect that there would be a higher number for that as well. But we did have an increase from last year of 6%. And you'll see that race roster is number 2 on the list, and then mile split, and so forth. But there's obviously a lot of registration companies out there. So we ask this pretty much every year: how much is staffing a challenge for you? And on this, we're looking at this blue area, and we're trying to see, is there a blue wave? And we want to see, is there a blue wave on the right side? And that would mean that most have a staffing issue. But this actually shows that, you know, there isn't really, majority of people, it's a component. It's definitely a challenge, but not a significant challenge. I say that, but it does come up in the comments that it continues to be a continual focus for timers, and it continues to be something that they have to address. So what are the biggest changes your company is currently experiencing? Number 1 is staffing and hiring. So that was 23 comments commented on that. So it definitely continues to be a focus in, and there was comments about that the cost of staffing continues to increase because people are expecting more. And then growth is a big change, again, that came up in the comments consistently. And then, you know, having the staff to support that growth is a challenge. And then competition. This was kind of a new thing that came up this year in the comments, that people were saying that they needed to go further out geographically. They also were reporting that there were other timers underbidding them and coming in cheap, not offering the same services, and maybe not doing as good of a job. And then the race, you know, dumps them the next year, but, you know, they've lost them that year. So that was something interesting and something to note that, you know, I would definitely recommend, you know, getting with your races, you know, your 2024 races, if you haven't already, touch base with them, make sure that they are planning on working with you, maybe come up with some new things that you want to bring to the table to show that you're helping them grow their experience, you know, just to kind of thwart those competitors that'll be coming after your business. And then training of staff. So those are the changes that they're addressing. Again, it goes with that growth and staffing and hiring. Some other comments were this changing to a digital format, and that was from people doing on-site registration and you know, race day registration. So changing from the paper registration to a digital format was definitely something they've been experiencing. They've also seen that small races they've seen less participation, and large races have increased participation, which is interesting. And then using new technology and new equipment, like, you know, new technology like race day scoring. And I'm not going to go through all these comments, but I thought I'd share some of this because it spoke to what I just covered. But this whole, you know, growth required for new training of staff, and then being overbooked on peak weekends, and then this poaching of races and other timers bidding low, and then bait and switch the next year. So, you know, that's clearly something to be aware of. The other thing that someone had mentioned, I think I cover it later, is the pricing that they have to, oh yeah, no, it's right here. So that because of the labor costs going up and other costs, to remain competitive, they've had to raise their costs to the races, and so far they're not getting any pushback yet. So something to think of. So these are just kind of miscellaneous questions, but We thought we'd share it with you. We wanted to know because we needed to know what we need to program, but are your races asking for custom gender registration categories beyond male, female, and non-binary? So this is registration categories. Predominantly people are saying no, they're not asking for it. 26% are saying that some are asking, and then a small percentage are saying many are asking. Then we asked, are your races asking for custom gender award categories? Because that would affect how we set things up in scoring. And again, predominantly 73% said no. So there's actually more are asking for it from a registration standpoint versus an award standpoint. And then 17 or 18% said yes, and then a small amount say many are asking for it. So clearly it's something that's on the horizon, but not as much as demand as maybe we would have thought initially. So timer technologies. This is just diving into what the technology that timer use are the trends associated with that. So we asked if you could share a wish list of new products and capabilities or improvements for your timer business, what would they be? So I'm not going through all this. We actually did a whole deep dive into all of the comments that people provided with our development team. But one of the common themes that we found throughout is that timers want to make sure that the technology has seamless integration. So we do a lot on the race day suite side of things, of integrating our different technologies to make sure if you changed, data in this one area, it's going to change over in another. So one of the things that you're asking for is more integration with other technology outside of RunSignup's platform. So with other timer technology and so forth. So what you'll find is this next year we'll be launching more and more improvements around this. It's something that we've already been doing, but you'll be starting to hear more announcements around this in the coming year. So what timing hardware do you use? And we asked to check all that apply. So MyLapse continues to be number one. We actually had an increase of 9% compared to last year. So they were at 36% this year. Then Finish Links, Race Result was at close to 18%. Chronotrack was 17%. Time Machine, so this is all different types of timers and so forth. So you see, again, there's a lot of different timing equipment. One thing I did want to mention is that we launched the Race Day mobile timing app this last year. And if you're not familiar with that, it's a free tool that timers can use to use as a backup tool, or you could actually use it. It's kind of a quasi-manual approach for races that maybe you can't have timing equipment at, or they don't have money for it. So actually 11% are already using it. So that was great to see. So what scoring software are you currently using to score your non-track and field events? And we asked them to select all that apply because many of you use several different scoring platforms, or at least a couple of them. So 38% say that they're using Race Day scoring, and this was actually a 19% increase from 2022. And for us, this was great to see because we are, hoping to see the market increase its adoption of Race Day scoring. It is the plan replacement for Race Director, and so this is showing that we are actually having very rapid adoption in the industry. We had a decrease in Race Director of just 2%, but we actually are looking to see that actually continue to decrease as people adopt Race Day scoring. And then Run Score, it was the third, and you would expect these are the top three in the industry to see, at 22%, and they only had a 1% decrease. We expect people are going to continue to move off of Run Score and go on to newer platforms like Race Day scoring in the coming years. So are you using older scoring software, and are you planning on updating to more current software? 20% are thinking of changing, but the majority are actually on newer scoring software. So 63% are on newer scoring software. And then we asked, what would stop you from changing? And obviously, if they are on newer scoring software, they're probably pretty pleased with it. But a lot of you said that you got your processes down, you're too busy to learn things, they don't want the added expense or the risk. So things that you would expect, you know, from why wouldn't you go off of your existing technology? Then we asked, do you offer participant tracking, and select all that apply. So 56%, a majority of you offer split alerts based on timing equipment. And then 40% offer results alerts only. And then continuous tracking of location, that would be like RaceJoy, is 27%. And then the estimator based on split progress alerts, not GPS, but based on timing equipment, is 27%. And 24% say no, that they do not offer participant tracking. If you're not offering participant tracking, why not? So this was actually interesting. 74% say that races aren't asking for that. 29% say that they're not sure how to provide it. So one of the things I wanted to share with you, if this is tracking is something you would like to provide, you're not sure how to provide it, you actually can get RaceJoy for free if you go through the training program that we have that you can do on your own. You can just email me and I could send you the information. It's Shelly@RunSignup.com. That's SHELLY at RunSignup.com, and I'll send you the information. So, but we were surprised that people weren't sure how to provide it. And one of the things I did want to mention is that I don't know if I'm allowed to mention it, but I'm going to, is that we are planning on adding in the timing alerts within RaceJoy, so that based on the timing equipment. So you'd be able to have GPS and the timing alerts. So look for that to come. That will be later on this year. So if you're using an app to provide tracking, which do you use? And obviously, again, it's going to be a little skewed on RaceJoy just because the timers that we're contacting, a lot of them do use RaceJoy. They are in our database. So, but 58% of the respondents use RaceJoy. And then, you know, there's 11% have custom apps. And then there's MyLapse, which is 14.4, and AthLinks and so forth. And RTRT is 13%. Okay, so now we're going into RunSignup technology. Please select the RunSignup race day tools you have used during 2023. So you would expect the race day check-in app, if you're familiar with it, that is the #1 product that's used, 64%, and then race day registration at close to 64%, and then race day results and race day bibs, so that's bib assignment and dynamic bibs and so forth. Race day scoring, we're at 39% or 40%, and then race day photos, RaceJoy, and the race director, virtual results, and the race day mobile timing app shows up again. So this is of those that answered this question, we actually had close to 20% are using the mobile timing app, which is great to see. So of the above options, which do you feel helped you the most this year and why? So we had 67 answered this question. And oops. The race day check-in app continues to be #1. There was 40 mentions about the race day check-in app. And here's a quote: "The race day check-in app has been a game changer. It empowers the clients to take ownership of their PPU, and I know the data I need is getting collected all in real time." So that's great to see. And then race day scoring also was mentioned frequently, 13 mentions. And again, here's another quote: "We finally made this switch from the race director this year, and it was a game changer." Another game changer comment. "We feel the difference a lot in the live participant syncing and in the ease of use of the software. I think it will be much less daunting to teach people how to time races with race day scoring. That's exciting." So when you're thinking of your new timers coming on, consider this as one that would be good for your new timers. So how often do you reach out to RunSignup support for any of the race day products? So we want to know, how is support doing? Because obviously that's a big part of our products. We're a technology company. We need to be able to make sure that we're offering you the quality support. So what this shows us is that the blue, wave is actually more towards the left. So only about 22% reach out frequently to us, which, you know, can be actually end up being a lot on our staff. But what this tells us is that people are finding our products to be easy to use and that self-sufficient, that they can work through things pretty much. If you have recently used RunSignup support services, how would you rate their services? So our average rating on this far exceeded expectations. It's a 4.61. So what we're looking for here is we want a 3-star or more, but you'll see that we predominantly are getting the 5 stars when you look at the different ratings here. So this was up from 2022's 4.51. So that's great to see. So our support staff is doing, you know, a stand-up job to support our timers. So what percentage of events are you using? Sorry, my cat is making an appearance. What percentage of events are you using race day scoring to score participants? More than 75% of your events. So this is where we're trying to reach to that point that most of the races you're using race day scoring at. And what we saw here is 57% are being used at more than 75% of your events. However, we do have an opportunity to grow because less than 28% of the timers are using them at less than 25% of the events. And that might be just that they just started using them, using race day scoring. So how happy are you with race day scoring? This again, our average rating is 4.15 this year. This is up from 3.75 or 7.3. And so we're exceeding expectations with race day scoring, and this is wonderful. So anything 4 and above is stellar. So this is excellent. How easy is it to use race day scoring? And you'll see this is where that blue wave, it's showing that overall timers feel that it's very, very easy to use. So take that into consideration if you have been thinking about making the change and you've been just kind of holding off. So this is great to see, and was something that, you know, was good for our developers to see. So this question we just asked, you know, what are the different features that you would like? We actually listed out features that we were planning on implementing, and we wanted to know from your viewpoint, which ones were the priority. So we took this, and in our offsite, we went through the list, and then this is all being implemented and being put a part of our product roadmap for the coming year. So then we asked, how happy are you with RaceJoy? So we don't spend a lot of development on RaceJoy, but we actually did a lot this last year, and we did, you know, where we're actually now storing the maps within the app, and a number of other type of foundational things within RaceJoy. But we primarily spend our development efforts on race day scoring and the check-in app and other things like the mobile timing app. But even with that, our ratings went up from 3.56 to 3.74. We're still exceeding expectations. Obviously, we'd love to be in the four areas of 4 or greater, and hopefully the changes that we'll be making this year will help with that. We are looking at continuing to improve our user interface. And as I mentioned, we're looking at some advancements with the integrating with race day scoring. So how happy are you with the race day check-in app? And this continues to win every year. So the average rating was 4.62. We exceed expectations. Again, everything, the ratings went up. So we had improvements across the board. So we're definitely exceeding expectations with that. So we asked, which functions do you use the check-in app for? And the reason why we asked this is because we introduced a number of new features, and if you're not familiar with those, they're listed out here. But obviously we have the participant check-in, and that you would expect that. But we also have the ability to assign bib numbers or use it to look up bib numbers, and also add information about participants. And then there's the volunteer check-in. And then the newer things that we introduced this last year was the results kiosk, the ability to use it as a results kiosk, emergency contact information lookup, and medical check-in. So these 3 were kind of new things that we added. So we wanted to see what's the adoption on that. And it was good to see that definitely in the results is starting to pick up with close to 25%. So which functions do you use when using the Race Day mobile timing app? Again, this was a new product, and we'd like to see how people are using it. So 31% are using it just as a backup mode for their traditional scoring. And then 25% are using it for scoring, and that's all they use it for. But then there's 44% are using it for both. And then do you use the Race Day mobile timing app with Race Day scoring? So you can integrate with Race Day scoring, integrate the data within it or your other scoring software. So we just wanted to find out about that. And it was good to see that 44% are actually integrating with it. And then there's still, 12% or 13% are using it with other scoring software. So do you offer your events ticket services as another form of revenue for other related activities like race festivals, VIP events, parking, and fundraisers? And this was only, or actually 125 people answered this, and 17 or 18% said yes. So we had like 22 people said yes. But what was interesting here was that 36% said no, but would like to. So we'll be focusing on helping timers to understand how they could easily add this on as another service for their events. So we then asked those that answered yes, we are offering ticket services. Are you currently using RunSignup's technology? And 73% are using RunSignup's technology, which then translates to 10% of total respondents. So now I'm wrapping things up. The miscellaneous items is we asked, what topics would you like more training on? And this continues pretty much to be the same as last year. The top 5 topics are race day scoring, remote timing, marketing tools for your events, new timer staff training, and growing and keeping your business. So we'll use this input from you, and then we'll, as our foundation, to figure out what we'll cover in the upcoming Timer Tip Tuesday webinars. So these will be the topics that we'll be covering. So then we asked, is there anything else you wish to share? And there was just a slew of very positive feedback. And we just want to thank you for taking the time to thank us and to recognize people and show your appreciation, because it does mean a lot to us. And it meant a lot to the team to read through all the comments. So thank you, and thank you for those of you that did participate in the survey. One of the things I wanted to ask before closing things up is, what would you like to know in the timer survey for next year? So you can add in your comments in the comment field and the questions or comment chat feature. If you want to know things around pricing, let me know. We can add questions about that. But what specifically would you want to know in the world of pricing for your business? So how much are people charging for RaceJoy? How much are they charging for their timing business? Or do they charge for registration, management, that type of thing? Just let me know what you would like to know, and we'll get those questions added. So, and if there's anything else too. And before I close things, James or Matt, is there any questions that might have come up?
Looks good, Shelley. Great job.
No questions?
Again, having that input from the timer community for, things that you might want to have next year. Definitely, something you can email to Shelley also. And then she's going to talk now about kind of our plans this year to really get out there and engage with you all in our timer tour and kind of the cities that we're going to be going to.
Great. Okay, so these are some upcoming related events. So these are the webinars that are shortly coming up. So as Chris mentioned, we have a USAT membership changes webinar. That'll be this week, January 11th. Definitely invite your race directors to go to that. We will also have this week a RunSignup kickoff, and that's where Bob Bickle and Allison will be covering our plans for 2024 and from a technology standpoint. And then James will be covering on January 30th our integration with Race Result. So this would be RunSignup's registration integration with Race Result. And again, this is kind of responding to your request to do more integration with other technology providers. So look for that. And then there's 2 timer conferences coming up, MyLapse and Race Result. We will be at both of them. Actually, James Harris, our Chief Technology Officer of the Event Day team, he will be presenting at both. So definitely make sure to join him at MyLapse. He's going to be covering some information about how we'll be doing integration with their cloud system that they'll be launching this year. And then Race Result, he'll be again covering the registration integration. And more importantly, come and join us at the Timer Tour. We kick the Timer Tour off next week in Houston. So if you're in the Houston area, definitely sign up for it. There's an email going out today if you haven't gotten it already. But definitely join us for this. And then in Charlotte and Detroit and then Denver. So join us. What we'll be doing is we'll have like a 3-hour session where we'll give an update on different things like our product roadmap and ways so that you can increase your timer business. And we'll also have an opportunity to hear from you what you want from us. And then we'll follow it by a little reception where we can have some social time and we'll be providing a light dinner. So, and then obviously we'll have some nice giveaways. And then finally, we have our Timer of the Year Award announcement. We have chosen the winner of the award. There will be a press release going out this month, and then we will be presenting the award at the Charlotte Timer Tour location. So with that, that's all we have for today. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and I don't think there was any questions. But thank you very much for joining us today. And if you have any questions or anything, if you want to know any information about what I covered today, just email me at Shelly at runsignup.com. Thank you very much.